Derek was the guy nobody worried about. 19 years at the same hospital in Denver. IT support lead. He knew every password, every workaround, every doctor's direct line. When something broke at 2 in the morning, they called Derek first. Not the new hires. Derek. Then, one Tuesday, in a 15-minute meeting he wasn't even invited to, his name went on a list. Not because he did anything wrong, because nobody had tested him in years. Here's the part almost nobody tells you. The safer a job feels, the more dangerous it usually is. Comfort and safety are not the same thing. One is a feeling, the other is a position. And most people never learn the difference until the day it costs them everything. Stay with me on this one, because by the end, I'm going to give you the exact habit that flips this around. One small move you can start using this week to make sure you're never the name on that list. And along the way, I'll show you the 90-year-old idea from biology that explains this better than any performance review ever could. If you've ever felt too settled to worry about your job, this video is for you. Let's get into it. Reason 1. That safe feeling is just familiarity. Here's where it starts to make sense. Think about your own job for a second. Do you know exactly which meetings matter and which ones you can tune out of? Do you know who to call the second something breaks? Do you have the shortcuts nobody else has? That feels like security. It isn't. It's just familiarity dressed up as safety. And here's the problem. The more familiar something feels, the less your brain treats it like a threat, even when the threat is building right outside your view. That comfortable feeling at work isn't measuring how safe you are. It's measuring how long it's been since anything challenged you. Think of it like a muscle. One that never gets tested doesn't stay strong. It just weakens slowly enough that you don't notice. Careers work the same way. The skills that got you hired 5 years ago are losing value every single day you don't add to them. And nobody sends a notification when that happens. And by the time it's obvious you've fallen behind, it's already too late to catch up quietly. Reason 2. Your circle is shrinking while you stand still. This next part comes from behavioral biology, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Picture a circle. Everything inside it is what you already know how to do. Your skills, your routines, the software you've mastered, the people you trust. Inside that circle, nothing surprises you. That's why it feels safe. Everything outside the circle is the unknown. New tools, new competitors, technology moving faster than most people can track. Your brain reads all of that as danger by default, so naturally, you avoid it. You stay inside the line. Here's the trap. The moment that circle starts to feel comfortable, most people stop growing it. They relax. Meanwhile, the world outside never stops moving. My cousin Antoine went through this almost exactly. He'd spent over a decade in print production at a marketing agency in Atlanta, knew every machine, every client's preferences, every shortcut. Then a new software rollout automated half his workflow in a single quarter. He wasn't fired outright. He was just quietly moved to fewer projects, then fewer hours, until there was nothing left for him to do. Nobody warned him it was coming. It never happens with a warning. It happens at the edges, while you're not watching. That's the circle shrinking. And it's rarely just one thing. My niece Bianca saw the same pattern hit a completely different way. She worked reception and scheduling at a dental office in Phoenix for 6 years. Comfortable, well-liked, never once worried about her position. Then the practice got bought out by a larger group that ran everything through a single centralized booking system managed from another state. Her exact role wasn't eliminated in one dramatic move. It was folded into a system that needed fewer people to do the same amount of work. She didn't lose her job because she was bad at it. She lost it because she never noticed the ground shifting under a role she assumed was permanent. Most people don't feel the circle shrinking as a single event. They feel it as pressure, a tightness, a sense that they're falling behind for reasons they can't quite name. And that pressure pushes them toward the wrong move. The one move. Grow the circle before it shrinks. Here's where things shift. When people feel that pressure, most of them push back against the outside world, against the new system, because the old one worked fine. Against extra training, because at their level, that feels beneath them. Against new methods, because that's not how it's always been done. Nobody has ever successfully turned back the clock on their industry, but plenty of careers have died trying. Here's the move that actually works. You can't shrink the outside world, but you can grow your circle to meet it, on purpose, before you're forced to. Every time you learn something new, it stops being unknown. Every unfamiliar problem you solve stops being a threat. Every step you take outside your circle doesn't shrink your safety, it grows it. Remember this line, because it's the whole video in one sentence. Today's risk is tomorrow's safety, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel safe before you grow. You grow, and growing is what makes you safe. Reason 3, comfort makes you stop moving, and stagnation is what gets cut. Now, some of you are thinking, easy to say, I've got bills, I've got a family, I can't blow up my career chasing some growth mindset video. Fair. Nobody's telling you to quit tomorrow. Here's the actual reframe. The opposite of risk isn't safety. The opposite of risk is stagnation. And stagnation only feels safe right up until the day it stops paying you. Ask anyone who was excellent at a job that quietly stopped existing. Video rental stores, film processing labs, entire departments that vanished. Not because the people in them were bad at their jobs, but because they stopped moving while the world kept going. And this isn't just a feeling. A major international labor study projected that somewhere close to 7 to 9% of today's jobs are likely to disappear over the next decade. That number sounds like a horror story. But here's the part that never makes the headline. Roughly that same number of brand new roles are expected to appear on the other side. Jobs that barely existed 10 years ago. The work doesn't disappear, it moves. From inside your circle to outside it. Whether that shift becomes a threat or an opportunity depends entirely on one thing. Whether you were already walking toward the edge or standing frozen in the middle. Here's the part that should actually give you hope instead of dread. You don't need to predict exactly which jobs disappear or which ones get created. You just need to stay close enough to the edge of your circle that when the shift happens, you're already halfway across it, instead of watching it happen from a position you can't move out of fast enough. The solution, your quarterly risk. So here's the actual tool, not a mindset, a habit. Call it your quarterly risk. Every 3 months, deliberately do one thing at work that makes you a little bad at your job again. Learn the tool you've been avoiding. Sit in on a project outside your lane. Have the conversation you keep putting off. Ask the question that might make you look like you don't already know everything. It doesn't need to be dramatic. Derek's mistake wasn't a lack of intelligence. He was one of the sharpest people in that hospital. His mistake was letting 19 years of being the answer man convince him he no longer needed to be a student. A single afternoon learning the new scheduling platform, 6 months before the switch happened company-wide, would have completely changed how that Tuesday meeting went. Nobody has to ask you to do this. That's the point. You do it before the pressure forces you to. Here's why the timing matters so much. If you wait until the reorg, the layoff, the younger hire who suddenly knows more than you, you're learning under threat, with your back against the wall. Learn the same skill early, on your own terms, and it costs you almost nothing. Same lesson, completely different price. There's an old line from a wisdom writer that fits this perfectly. Comfort is a loan against your future, and sooner or later, it always comes due. Think back to Derek, 19 years in, and still one of the first names cut. Not because he was lazy, not because he wasn't good at his job, but because nothing had tested him in years. The people who come back from a layoff strong aren't the ones who get rescued. They're the ones who stopped letting their safety depend on everything staying exactly the same. Before you go, So here's the question I want you to sit with. What's the one skill, the one conversation, the one uncomfortable step you've been filing under someday? Because someday is usually the only thing making it feel risky at all. You don't need to feel ready. Almost nobody does. You just need to take one step past the edge of what's familiar. If this hit home, drop a comment. Just the situation. No names needed. You'll see how many people are in the exact same spot. And if it reminded you of a coworker who's gotten a little too comfortable, send them this video while it's still fresh in your mind. Hit subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this one, because by the time comfort starts feeling risky, the opportunity to change it quietly is already gone.